Hi, I'm Mark Bresnahan. I'm co-founder of Sarah's Village, along with the love of my life, my wife Cynthia, and our son Thomas. We host this walk here at Borderland to raise awareness about mental health in hopes of eliminating the stigma associated with mental health and also to reduce the rate of suicide, not only in our community but Massachusetts and across the U.S. I participate in the walk and together with AFSP because on April 6, 2017, our 19-year-old daughter, Sarah, succumbed to a mental illness we didn't realize she had, and she took her life. So we participate in hopes of raising awareness and reducing the likelihood that other families would have to go through a similar tragedy that we've been going through. The other thing that I would just really encourage people to do with respect to mental health and mental health treatment and reducing suicide is to talk about it and to participate. Together we can all really make a difference, and there should be no stigma associated with mental health. It's the same as any physical illness, and it's treatable and it's beatable, and together we'll win.
I'm Alan Medeiros, and I'm here at Borderland State Park walking for my son Ryan Medeiros.
Hopefully today, by raising awareness, people will come forward that are struggling and know there's help for them out there and that they're not alone.
So I got first involved with AFSP when my mom searched for support after I lost my dad to suicide almost 14 years ago when I was 14. And so she found an Out of the Darkness walk. So we walked, I think it was 2 years after he had passed away, and in our first Out of the Darkness walk, and I've been involved ever since. Yeah, so I got involved obviously as a survivor, and then I was involved in other capacities. I helped co-chair the Boston Walk a few years ago, and then I ran the Boston Marathon for Team AFSP 3 years ago, and then a year and a half ago is when I was hired to work for the organization. So I've been involved in a number of different ways, and now it's just as a support as a staff, and I kind of lead different committees and things like that on events to support others who have lost someone to suicide. A lot of survivors, attempt survivors, and those who support the cause get involved with the walks. However, we do have other fundraising events. We have our annual A Sip in the Park event at Fenway every year. We have other capacities to get involved, which is Advocacy Day at our State House to meet with legislators to advocate for more funding for mental health and suicide prevention initiatives. We also have tons of different ways to get involved, and that it doesn't have to be a walker or a fundraiser, and that's becoming a field advocate. That's also joining some of our walk committees. It's also bringing communities and program education to your community and letting us provide that support. Not everyone can solve the issue, but we can certainly be there for one another and listen to each other and provide support that, as if we would get support for any other illness. I think, we reach out and we are concerned about people who have heart disease and cancer, and I think the same is true, needs to be true for mental illness. We need to reach out and be willing to have that conversation, and you don't have to solve it, but you need to say, I will be here for you. I'll sit with you and listen, and we'll struggle our way through it.
But I'm honored to be the walk coordinator this year. But like anything, you can't put together an event like this without an army of helpers and so forth. And the first one I'd like to acknowledge is Michelle Lee up here with Cody. She's our true north. She's the area director for AFSP, and she's just a great leader, and she keeps us in line and does a bunch of great work. The second group I'd like to recognize is our walk committee and all the volunteers. It takes an army, like I said, and just a lot of work since February or so, and then the volunteers working here. And I would appreciate it. We pay them in applause and smiles and thank you. So thank you so much. A bunch of people helping out, so really appreciate that. So, and next I'd like to thank all of you for coming out today. If I could see a show of hands, how many people is this your first Out of the Darkness walk? Awesome. Thank you so much for coming out. Thanks for joining the movement. It's we're trying to eliminate the stigma associated with mental illness, improve mental health care for people, and in turn that should reduce the rate of suicide. So thank you so much. Thanks for being willing to come out and join. How about those that have participated in a walk before, if I can show their hands? Thanks for keeping the movement going. That's awesome. That's great. Really appreciate it. All together, this is our 4th Out of the Darkness walk here in Easton. We've had about 2,500 participants, both here at these beautiful hallowed grounds here at Borderland, and that participate with us virtually. And we've raised almost $275,000. So that's a pretty amazing time. And that's great. And this year we're on track for our largest amount raised. And we'd like to have a big shout out to Team Russell. They led the lead this year for us. Borderland. So thank you so much. And we'll be leading the walk in about 10 or 15 minutes, so that's awesome. Thanks so much. So the one thing that I want to ask of all of you before I have Nancy say a couple words is, one of the things AFSP does is provide programming in the community, and so that's where we can all work together to try to make a difference. So I want to challenge all of you, and I'll be right there with a shovel in my hand to keep Michelle as busy as we can with some of this programming. And you might have seen a sign, but we have a Talk Saves Lives presentation at the Congregational Church of Mansfield on October 3rd at 7 o'clock. So it'll be your chance to kind of check it out and see if it might be something that would be appropriate for your school, your business, or some other group that you're involved in. But it's all about spending that money that we've all worked so hard to raise right back in our community to make a difference with the people that we hang out with day in and day out. So without further ado, Nancy, tell us what you do.
Thank you, Mark, and thanks to you and Cynthia for the amazing work you've done. To the lead teams, to every team, to every individual. I lost my brother to suicide 26 years ago. And I found the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention when my mother went to a support group in New Jersey. And she called me up the next day and said, "Get your butt to the group in Boston." So I've been working with that group. I'm also on the National Board of Directors. And I want to tell you a little bit about what happens to the money that you raise today. 50% of it goes to the national, and that is for all of the research that we conduct in suicide prevention, and for all the programs like Talk Saves Lives that Mark talked about. We have high school programs, we have LGBTQ programs, we have programs for seniors. We have all sorts of training for physicians. We have every possible element of suicide prevention that you could imagine. And so that 50% helps to pay for that work, which then comes back to the communities in the form of programs. And the other 50%, Mark really gave an excellent commercial for, because what we want to do is invest that money here in Massachusetts. So recently we've had a lot of requests from workplaces to come in and do Talk Saves Lives, which is basically a kind of a lunch session where people learn how to talk to each other. If you're worried about someone, if you're worried about a colleague or a friend or a family member, how to take action. It's not very hard. Especially when you get the tools in this kind of presentation. So as Mark said, we're doing these in churches, we're doing them at workplaces, we're doing them with the Boston Police Department and other police departments, because there are shocking statistics like more police officers die by suicide than in the line of duty, all across the country. So the money that you're raising is invested back in suicide prevention, both locally and nationally. We also have something coming up on November 23rd, which is our International Survivors of Suicide Loss Day. You can participate by watching the program online, or you can go on afsp.org and search for a local venue, and you can go and meet with other people who've experienced the loss that you have. We also have an advocacy program, and I chair the National Advocacy Program, so this is my commercial. We do work at the local, state, and national levels. And that work is to tell our representatives and senators and mayors and governors how important suicide prevention is and how their leadership can help us get rid of the stigma, but more importantly perhaps invest more money in suicide prevention research. Because if we look at every major disease in the United States, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, the more money that's invested the lower the incidence or the longer people live. So that's really important. If you sign up just to be a field advocate, as we call it, you'll get an email and you'll be asked to fill out a form just with your name and where you live. And that information will go to your congressman, to your representative, and your senator. Mark was just telling me he did it the other day. It takes probably 2 minutes. So I really encourage you to go to the website and sign up to do that. It's actually even easier than walking, so we would welcome more participation. One other thing briefly, I know it's warm and you're eager to get going. We're also doing something called Project 2025 because the suicide rate in many states, including Massachusetts, has increased by 30% over the last few years, and that's totally unacceptable. So we're doing a targeted program that will address the areas where we think we can really make a difference. And there's a website called Project 2025, and I encourage you to take a look at it, because you can learn more about the things that we're doing and we want your help to do. So the bottom line is we're trying to create a culture that's smart about mental health. And what we're doing today is an essential part of that. When we started the idea of walks years ago, the board of directors, half the members of the board said, oh, no one's going to walk for suicide prevention. This year across the country, 450,000 people. So you are the movement. And today, as we remember those we've lost, we walk in memory of each one of them. We walk in hope that those who struggle and those who may have attempted will find peace and treatment and success in avoiding suicide. And we walk with determination because you are the voice, you are the people here who will save lives. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of everyone else at AFSP, and have a great walk.
Thanks so much, Nancy. Now we'll proceed to our bead ceremony.
Thank you, Mark. I'm Donald Breslin, Mark's brother. I'm here joined with my wife Rose and our special helper Muriel. All of us have been touched by the sudden passing of Sarah, so I really thank all of you, as has been said before, for joining us here today. We have something special here for you. It's called the bead ceremony. Each of us has our own stories and our own reasons for being here. And as we gather here today, we remember those reasons. And we share a symbol to keep them in our sight and, more importantly, in our hearts. Our honor beads that I'm holding on this arm pay tribute to loved one lost, a personal struggle or a victory. They come in many colors, representing the diversity of our community connections to this cause. It's my privileged honor to introduce you to some of the extraordinary people here to my right and who are part of this community. Wearing orange beads. Rose and Muriel will help me here. To symbolize the loss of a sibling is Kendra. On September 16, 2017, Kendra lost her brother Kyle to suicide. Kyle was a devout Christian who always found ways to spread the word of Christ. Kyle graduated cum laude from Gordon College with a BS in sociology, double minoring in history and German. He was a genius behind the computer and could master anything we put in front of him. Kyle was a brilliant man who loved very, very deeply. But he also struggled. Kendra and her family are here today to walk in Kyle's memory and to raise awareness of the signs of mental illness and to bring hope to those who may be suffering. Thank you so much, Kendra. And now Muriel is going to help me with my brother Mark, wearing silver beads to symbolize the loss of military or first responders is Michelle. Michelle is the association area director for AFSP and first got involved with the organization by joining a walk, just like this one, and the loss of her dad, Keith. Keith was a police sergeant in upstate New York for more than 25 years and dedicated his life to protecting and serving. He was a devoted husband, father, and brother, and never missed a school activity, sporting event, or family gathering. Michelle truly believes in a world without suicide and finds comfort being surrounded by all of you today. Wearing red beads. To represent the loss of a partner or spouse is Kelly. This is very, very hard. About 2 months ago, Kelly lost her husband, Michael, to suicide. He was a loving husband, son, and brother and father to Michael, Anya, Maya, and Nora, while also being a devoted friend to many. Michael battled with mental illness for many years. He was a fighter, but needed peace. He was the kindest, most genuine, loud person and so full of love. He adored his children and was an amazing artist and mason. He brought so much joy to so many people's lives. Kelly walks to eliminate the stigma of mental illness. Let people know that they are not alone and that there is hope. Wearing gold beads to symbolize the loss of a parent is Tara. Her father, Dr. Kenneth Hill, died by suicide on September 29, 2013 at the age of 63. Dr. Hill had an infectious laugh and was very proud of his family. He continues to inspire his children and grandchildren. One of his grandkids wants to be a doctor, just like Gramps. Tara also wants for her friend Eddie, who also died by suicide shortly after her father. Tara has participated walking in and raising money for AFSP for the past 5 years. She hopes the participation helps to bring awareness to many. Bart and James wear purple beads, symbolizing the loss of a friend or relative. 9 months ago, 30-year-old Russell took his own life. Russ was a loyal friend and loving son who truly enjoyed Easton as his hometown. He was always able to light up the room, and gatherings were never complete without his witty comments or infectious laughter. Bart and James are here in the hopes that no other family or friends will have to go through the pain of losing someone they love to suicide. Wendy and Buddy Jurgens wear white beads, symbolizing the loss of a child. On May 14, 2012, the day after Mother's Day, their 32-year-old son, Nick, died by suicide. As a young man, when most teenage boys were thinking about rounding second, Nick was learning how to fly an airplane. He had an infectious personality and contagious laugh that made people want to be with him. When he returned home from serving in the Navy, like many service members, his depression worsened. He would not seek help. He was determined to help himself. It is Wendy and Buddy's hope that funds raised for AFSP will help those battling depression feel comfortable seeking alternate solutions so that their families and friends will not have to experience the same heartbreak. Wearing green beads to symbolize a personal struggle is Olivia. She has battled severe clinical depression and anxiety, self-harm, and an eating disorder. Olivia was hospitalized in February of her junior year and is proud to say she has maintained high honor roll status. That's excellent. High honor roll status in her classes through it all. Olivia is now in her senior year of high school with the goal of going to college and becoming an English teacher. What an inspiring story. Give her a hand, folks. They're all inspiring stories, but it's nice to see one broken here as a survivor. Beautiful. Wearing teal beads representing the family and friends of those with mental health conditions is Ashley. She is a friend of someone who struggles and often supports in any way she can. Ashley participates in suicide awareness at her school and in her community and is walking for her best friend. Carrie is wearing blue beads, symbolizing support for the cause. This is Carrie's third Out of the Darkness walk. She joined the suicide prevention movement after her daughter lost a good friend to suicide. She believes no one should be afraid to ask for help. And no one should ask for help and not receive it because others are too ashamed to think that mental illness and depression could exist in her family. Through the AFSP, Carrie hopes to spread awareness that it is okay to talk about mental health and suicide is not your only option. Each year, she dedicates her walk to Sarah and her family, a daughter, and a family that was not hers, but so easily could have been. These beads, folks, these courageous people, please give them a hand.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. So I think the last point I'd leave you with this is that mental illness really crosses all socioeconomic backgrounds, gender, age, and race. So it's an opportunity that really cuts across many things. So we're ready now to get the walk started. One thing that I forgot to say last year, this awesome Hope rock area, if you colored a rock or if you want to do one when you come back, you can take it home with you. So that's as a memento, because otherwise we have to carry him back home again, and it'll be my third time going at him. So we work out, but not that much. So without further ado, Russell's team can lead the way. The walk, for those of you that don't know, we're gonna head out over towards the mansion. The road breaks off to the left. We're gonna follow that road, and it's a loop around Leech Pond. It's about 2.7 miles for those of you that are anal retentive like me and accurate, but that's it. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it.